Winnowing is used to separate lighter components from heavier components by wind or breeze. Yeah, let's just say by wind. By wind is okay. Right? By wind. Now, what are the key points, or what is the key point before using this method? Number one, you must ensure that the mixture contains a lighter component and a heavier component. Now, you find that, for example, let's look at the farmers, because they are the ones that basically use this method. Let's look at the farmers, or let us even look at our own selves at home. Let's assume you have granite in your palm. After squeezing the granite, what do? Even without blowing breeze or wind to the mixture of granite and the granite peel, what happens? You get to see that this granite peel begin to fall off your palm. You might still have some which are still left in on your palm. So what do? You blow breeze to it, or you blow a wind to it. You blow it. As you blow it, what happens? You begin to separate the lighter component from the heavier component. The farmers use this basically to separate the lighter husks from from the heavier seed. They keep both of them in a particular place in an open space, and they left it for some time. Before they will come back, they find that wind have blown it, and they find that there will be a total separation of the seed from the husk. You see that this is another method of separation of a mixture, where lighter components of a mixture are separated from the heavier components by wind. The wind could be natural, the wind could be artificial. Now let's go to the next method of separation. Handpicking is a method used to separate solid mixtures. Sometimes it can be liquid and a solid, insoluble solid. But basically it's used to separate solid mixed together. I'll go back to the example of the rice and the beans, which is heterogeneous. You get to see that the rice can be handpicked from the mixture of rice and beans, or the beans can be handpicked from the mixture of rice and beans. It may not be actually. What's the difference between handpicking and sieving? In sieving, they must be of different sizes. The solid mixtures must be of different sizes. But in handpicking, it's not necessary that these solids must be different sizes. They can be the same sizes. In fact, it's used basically for the same size because you cannot use a mesh for a sieve, for it. So what do? You handpick. By using your hand to pick the desired the wanted ones from the unwanted ones, or the unwanted ones from the wanted ones, as the case may be. Sometimes both of them are wanted, but what you need to do is to separate one from the other. That is hand picking. It's a process used. This is a process used to separate solid particles. Simple. Solid particles. Hand picking. Select the ones you want, or select the ones you want. Both of them can be wanted, but it has to do with selection. Picking. That is hand picking. So let us go to the next method. So that's number 7 or number 6, okay? Centrifugation. Centrifugation. This is used to separate insoluble tiny solids from a liquid with the use of a centrifuge. I will explain what a centrifuge is, and I'll also explain the key points of this method of separation. Number 1, you must understand that this mixture must contain an insoluble tiny solid and a liquid with the use of a centrifuge. Another thing we must understand in this process is that this kind of mixture is always very small. It's not easily used for a large mixture. It's always used for a mixture of small quantity. Like the use of a centrifuge in the hospital, where they use it to separate the blood cells from plasma. You take it to the lab and you put inside a centrifuge, and before you know, after some time, the centrifuge separates the blood cells from the plasma. You do that more in biology, explain better. But let me explain it a bit here. Now, what is centrifuge? A centrifuge is a machine which can spin test tube. It can spin test tube, just like a fan. Now, the mixture we put inside this test tube. And as soon as this machine is on, it begins to turn, it begins to spin round at a very high speed, thereby pushing the insoluble solid, tiny solid, to the bottom. Likewise this and likewise that, to the bottom. Thereby you're not having a separation, just like we have in the process of decantation, where you have a clear solid and a clear liquid. Talking about, for example, we are talking about the blood now. You talk about this will now be the plasma, and this will now be the blood cells. You see, this is now going to separate by who? By the By the test tube, by the centrifuge. It spins. It's a machine which can spin test tube at a high speed. Now, so for better understanding, that centrifugation is is a method used to separate insoluble tiny solid from a liquid with the use of a centrifuge. I've said that a centrifuge is a machine which can spin test tube. These test tube are detachable. As you remove them, you put the mixture and bring it back to the centrifuge, lock it up, and then do Arm it. When you arm it, it spins. It's going to rotate at a very high speed, forcing the heavier tiny solid particles to the bottom, thereby taking the lighter ones up. Talking about the liquid. Then you can now do what we call decantation. You now separate. You now pour out the clear part, upper layer, into another container, thereby having your the two constituents separated. This is the method known as centrifugation. Let's go to the next. Evaporation is used to separate or recover soluble solutes from its solvents or solution. Now, what are the key points here? you must understand that what? There are two things involved here. A soluble what? Solute. And a what? A solvent. Solvent, let me explain what I mean by solute and what? Solvent. Solute is a solid material that has what? Dissolved in a liquid. Solute, like I said, is a what? A solid material. A solute is a solid matter which can dissolve in a certain liquid known as what? Solvent. The liquid which dissolves what? A solid is known as a what? A solvent. The liquid which dissolves a solid is known as a what? Solvent. For example, when you have salt plus what? Water to give you what we call salt solution. Now, who is a solute and who is a what? A solvent. The salt which have dissolved is known as the what? The solute. While the water is known as the what? The solvent. See that? Now, take note that it's not all liquid that can dissolve what? Salt. And it's not all salt that can dissolve in a particular what? Liquid. So, you must know that what? Some solvents are not good solvents to a particular what? Liquid. Sorry, to a particular solid. But have it at the back of your mind that any liquid which dissolves a what? A solid. Dissolve simply means it can disappear. When you put salt inside a what? Inside the water, you no longer see the salt. It's gone. It has dissolved. That's what I mean by what? Dissolving. It reacts with what? The water and then dissolve. So what happens? That salt now becomes a what? A solute. Why the liquid that's what? That dissolves it becomes what? A solvent. Now let's go back to the discourse. Now we're saying that what? This method is used to recover or to separate what? Soluble what? Solute. This method is used to gain back your salt and also gain back not gain back the water. Because if you want to gain back the water, you're not talking about a different product method known as what? Distillation. But in evaporation, we are assuming that the solvent will be what? Sacrificed. But the solute will be what? Recovered. The solute will be what? Recovered. Why the solvent is what? Sacrificed. But if you don't want to sacrifice the solvent, what do? You now go to the method known as what? Distillation. Where the solvent can also be what? Recovered. But it's no more evaporation. Now, in evaporation, we are assuming that what? Let's assume all this salt industry. Like in San Francisco, where they produce salt, where seawater is being what? Poured into a what? A reservoir. And they allow the what? The heat that comes from the sun to heat on the what? This what? Salt solution, this seawater. And what happens? As the water begins to evaporate, a time will come, you start seeing what? Your salt. It evaporates the water, leaving behind the what? The salt. Thereby what? Sacrificing the solvent and getting back your what? Your solvent. Your solute. That is what? Evaporation. It's used to separate what? Or to recover what? Soluble what? Solute from its what? Solvent or solution.